Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Alliance. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Negative Zone to bring you the Marvel Universe right to your ears. My name is Chris.
My name is the podcaster, Mr. Strauss Snail.
Alliance
Assemble.
There we go.
There we go. If you tuned in last week, it was a little rocky, but already volume 2. We're doing much better than we were last week. So, How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing well. It's sunny down here in North Carolina, very, very hot. So,
it's sunny here too. Yeah, it's sunny here too. It stormed completely last night, but it's really nice out. So I'm hoping it stays that way we're recording this. We usually record these on the weekend. So a nice weekend, because I know you and me both have weekends off. A nice weekend I'll always take.
Oh, definitely. If I could get a temperature down a little bit, I like it. But we got outside for a little bit with the kids, so glad to be a little bit of air conditioning right now to cool off.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff. Chris is going to give us a rundown in a second, but just to give you the quick little plugs and whatnot, thank you to everyone that listened last week, because we had all 5 shows launched. And this week, the 6th show, Star Wars Alliance, launched, so we still got one more goodie there. And then Superior Discussions is working on a fun Flashpoint review, so that's going to be good. So there's still new stuff down the pike, but just got to give a shout out to everybody, whether it's kind of new listeners or old listeners, and meaning by that, as far as, the title of this network is Geek Ultimate Alliance, and it's cheesy, but it feels like that because it was fun seeing kind of fans from your show or fans from SC or fans from GeekVerse kind of for the first time like talking or meeting each other kind of the same way we all did. And whether you're people that followed me from GeekVerse and you jumped over this and you're listening, or new people who've kind of welcomed me or Chris with open arms, just got to thank you, because one, all the feedback was really positive last week. Everyone was really nice, and just like I said, it was really cool last week to see the reception. I told this Chris privately of I was nervous, not because I thought it was a bad show, but it's just I have not done anything like this in a long time. We launched GeekVerse 5 years ago, and we do new shows and spin-offs, but to launch something like this and to launch something that was daily, and all the other hosts kind of, they'll probably say the same thing on their second weeks, but they had a great time. Like, I just got to say a big thank you to everyone that supported us just this far, like just within the first week. So a big thank you to that. I'm sure you share that similar sentiment, Chris.
Oh no, it was great. It was great to listen to some of our the other shows and see what they did with it. It was cool kind of seeing what they were talking about, and just all around, I think it ended up being a great week. So thank you all for giving it a chance. And if you haven't given it a chance yet, and this is your first time listening, it welcome, and we can't wait to show you what else we got.
And yeah, as always, we're dropping on the Monday, but tomorrow we got DC Alliance. The day after that, we got Chris, your show with World's Finest True Believers. We have Thursdays, which is this week. It's the debut episode of Star Wars Alliance. Every Thursday, it switches off between Slice of Film and Star Wars Alliance, which is hosted by Katie. But this is going to be a good one. Take your dive. It's her and Nathan, one of our guest hosts on the network, talking about why they love Star Wars, and just a little introduction of what the show is going to be. Friday, Travis and Greg are continuing their series, episodes 4 to 6, I believe, of the Superman animated series. And yeah, it's really good. I'm watching that one with my daughter right now, so it's fun to watch a show and then I jump over and listen to it, so do that. And then also, if you didn't see, we've launched Patreon. I thank the people that have already joined us, people that joined us before we even dropped an episode, so we really, really appreciate that. If you want to get the episodes ad-free or early, go ahead, because whenever an episode's done, it gets thrown up right there, and you get it, no ad reads, nothing like that. So, yeah, head over to Patreon, support us. If you really want to support the channel, if you like what we do here, if you want us to grow and maybe make more shows, more content, that's the best way to do it. Yeah, and this is going to be exciting because we had to record that in advance because it was launch week, but now we actually have some news to talk about. But before we get in that, we were going to do some listener and fan questions or fan comments. So if, Chris, I'm sure you saw this, but if you've seen, I've changed the Twitter handle to Marvel A Podcast. The 5 was just bugging me because, like you said,
I did notice that.
Like you said last week, you're like, I don't know what the 5 stands for. I'm like, I've been trying to think, like, what else could I tie it to? So I'm like, I just keep it simple. So Marvel A Podcast, that's where you can find us on Twitter, the Facebook and emails all down below. But I'll lead us off, and then we'll go back and forth. We have some questions, we have some comments. So last week, this is from Legendary Bearded Geek. This was on the 2 comments he was talking about Doom War and Secret Evasion, our picks as far as the storylines we'd want to see. For Doom, he said, Doom can be a new thing because after Mysterio quit working for Stark, he needed some funds from someone else more powerful. Doom offers those funds in exchange for technology and can help take over Wakanda for resources and vibranium. I like that idea as far as because I want to throw to you on this. In Ant-Man, people have speculated, they've always talked about this character that was like the consultant or someone like that. This guy that was funding Walton Goggins' character, but we never met him, and lots of people speculated it was Norman Osborn. But someone like that could easily do, and I think that could be a fun way if we talked about Latveria. If some of these villains were kind of getting maybe some backdoor refunding or resourcing, I think Doom would be a good way. So I like that suggestion.
Yeah, I mean there's kind of history of Latveria being kind of a backdoor funding, and I talked about it last week with Secret
Mm-hmm.
War. With the Prime Minister doing that. So yeah, there's definitely comic precedents. That'd be an interesting way to kind of backdoor that idea in.
Yeah, and then the other thing he was speaking about this on Secret Invasion and Dark Reign and everything like that. As far as Norman Osborn can be a thing of now because Stark and Rogers are gone. New York City needs a hero. He dons Iron Patriot, but something goes wrong, programming in his brain, and he recruits more villains as false prophets, labeling New Avengers as evil. Thus starting my favorite story arc, Dark Avengers. So that's cool. One, go follow Legendary Beard Geek. He just started his own podcast, so good luck to you, sir. But yeah, I think that could be a fun way. That's like I said, I always get a little nervous because I feel like if we get Iron Patriot and the way he pitched it there, I always still want him to eventually become Goblin. But I think we kind of hit on that a little bit last week as far as people are looking for a new hero or new icon, and Norman could be that kind of false prophet, like he was saying.
Yeah, no, I think it's good, but I definitely prefer Goblin first
Yeah.
before Patriot. It lines up better with history, but again, that's for the writers to sort out. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it. I'm open to all interpretations, and then I'll make my opinion after it.
What do you got next?
I got Tony at Walkator93. He's got two. He says, if/when Green Goblin comes to the MCU, would you rather have the design be the 616 or our standard Goblin in the costume, or 610 Goblin, which is the Ultimate Universe, where his whole body changes into a Goblin? Me personally, I like the change of it, but I'll be old school in this one. I've always preferred Norman in the costume, and it's something about it. Just like we can do that.
Yeah, especially because you look at those old Sam Raimi ones when they had that mask that was kind of pitched for it, but it
Mhm.
didn't really work out. Yeah, I'm somebody, I don't think it's a hot take or anything, but I love Spider-Man, or I love Ultimate Spider-Man. I love majority of that run, but I hate
Mhm.
Ultimate Green Goblin. I don't hate many things. I don't hate it that passionately, but I just feel you lose a little bit character. I do think eventually they did flesh him out because he is like kind of hulkish where he can talk and he's still smart, but very early on with him being the ultimate goblin, he was just kind of like a hulking monster, and I felt like we lost so much personality of Norman Osborn because there's such a fun dynamic there. It's been around for so long, we've seen it in movies multiple times, but I still think there's more to explore as far as your best friend's dad is this criminal mastermind who becomes evil, and I love that's the way Green Goblin's my favorite Spider-Man villain because he is Lex Luthor and the Joker in one, and you get that dynamic where I think if you go the Ultimate Goblin route, you kind of lose both that. You lose the Joker thing because Joker's not scary because he's big and imposing. He's scary because he's menace, and Luthor he's scary because of how smart he is and what he can do. Norman is a threat both those ways as Norman and Green Goblin. As Ultimate Goblin, I feel he just becomes another bulking bad guy. And my worry is, Tony, that I've said this for a while. I actually think the MCU, my preference is the old kind of original Goblin. My thinking is they will go Ultimate Goblin because they just love kind of being different. Everything they've kind of done is a little bit different, whether it's MJ, whether it's kind of Peter Parker's friends, the non-mention of Uncle Ben. So my opinion, especially with the way CGI is with Thanos, they can get a actor to play Green Goblin, but it will still be in that kind of CG suit. So I would not want that, but I think they'll go that route, and I'll be a little dead inside. But as long as I get a Goblin Rider, as long as I get a glider and some pumpkin bombs, I'll suck it up. But there will be a little part of me in the theater of like this is my daughter's gonna grow up with this Goblin. This is gonna be Goblin to me. Like no, I gotta show them all the comics and whatnot. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to just to see what it is. But you're right. I the lunacy of Norman at that point, is kind of lost in the full changing at that point because he's got full control of kind of
Yeah.
everything at that. So they can still bring it to that. But yeah, I mean everything's in MCU's lately has been ultimate base. So we could see. His next question is: would you rather have the villain of Black Panther 2 be Doctor Doom or Namor? Now we kind of talked about this a little bit last week, but me, I'm I'm always trying to bring in new characters at this point, so both of them are good. But Doctor Doom does eventually become a kind of a thorn for Black Panther, but primarily he is starting off as a Fantastic Four. So I'd
Hmm.
rather him be introduced in Fantastic Four first. So I'm going to go with Namor because it's a way to bring him in and also get in mutants at that point. But also, I'd love the storyline of the war between Atlantis and Namor versus Wakanda and Black Panther.
Yeah, I think I've always wondered because we did talk about this last week, and the reason one of my storylines I picked was Do More, just because I feel with Ryan Coogler, there's kind of there's a slant he could take there as far as, like I said, very powerful, rich white
Hmm.
guy invading a country trying to take all their stuff. That's something that's happened in the past. It's something that they kind of talked about in Black Panther, if not want to happen again. My thing with Namor is I just don't know. I've never understood, and I wouldn't be opposed, honestly. Like, I get the thinking of having Doom and Fantastic Four. So if they announce Namor's going to be the villain, it's not like the Ultimate Goblin thing where I go, oh, I'm disappointed. That I'm like, okay, cool, sign me up. I'm ready to see Namor. I just don't. I wonder what, because you're right, that is a good storyline. I'm just trying to think of, like, Coogler as a director, what slant he feels with Namor he has to take, but maybe it's just another kind of tackling like two races kind of coming together instead of solving, because the first one was all about how does a black community in Wakanda deal with the problems different ways. This could be how do two different races maybe come together
Hmm.
and work together. So kind of talking about, I could see it, and yeah, like I said, I'm not opposed for either. For my rather, I'd I'd say Doom, but I don't know. It's tough because I think, Chris brings up a good point. I do want him in Fantastic Four. I just really like that storyline. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of a very 50-50. So would you rather? I'll still go in the Doom camp, but I'm not really opposed to Namor because I think we have some fun there. So
Cool.
I got the next one from Comic Book
Yep.
Rundown. What's your opinion on the upcoming Black Widow movie, and do you think the sister will be the next Black Widow? So this is a movie, Chris, we should have seen by now, but unfortunately, we have not.
November, I think right now it's
Yeah,
currently slated.
yeah, and thank goodness nothing has leaked really big, because that was always my fear. Lots of these movies getting delayed was, oh, what's gonna happen? Are we gonna, maybe somebody's gonna get their copy on something? So I'm happy nothing big has come out. At least I haven't seen. I'm
Well, we're not Sony with leaks,
Yeah,
so there's
yeah,
that.
or Deadpool 1, Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller aren't putting out the Black Widow copy or something like that. So
Hmm.
I'm so I think, because honestly, if you would have asked me in May, I've said this before, I don't think the MCU has any bad movies. I think they're always a decent to great quality. I think if you would have asked me in May, I would have been less excited. But because of COVID, it has really amped me up to. We are not getting an MCU movie in over a year because Spidey came out in July, so it's been over a year. That's never happened since Iron Man came out. We've never had that, so I think that has made me way more excited. But before, I'm just not, and you'll probably learn this if you're new viewers, I'm not a big fan of prequels. I think in odd cases like a Captain Marvel or Captain America, those work because it's a prequel to the universe, but we don't exactly know this character's story. I'm not a big fan of, we kind of know the exact endpoint of a character and we're going back. I could probably list you about 3 prequels that I think are great, and the rest, to me, you always risk of muddling things. You always risk of, oh, that happened, that, like, why did they never talk about that? And it's the same thing with this. So I think that the sister will die. For a while, I thought she was Taskmaster, but I don't think that anymore. For a while, because for the marketing, they were being really coy and not really showing them in the same scenes together. And then I think the last trailer, they did have a scene together, which still could be like, some trickery going on. We've seen that with MCU trailers before, but I'm very excited now. But there's more. It's definitely lower on the list. Not because I dislike the character. I just think if she was alive, I'd be more okay. How's this advancing the plot? I am excited for that. I'm really excited for that first post credit scene, because I think no matter what, it's gonna need to be something big. So what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I've been a proponent for that. The sister does take
Mm-hmm.
over at that point, and people say, "Well, where's she been? Where's she been?" I said, "Give it time. We haven't gotten it there. I know we just got Endgame, but I'm I don't have a good enough handle of how that works and where she's been. But it just, and people say, well, Natasha can come back at that point. Oh, yeah, give me a good enough story and she can come back. But I think that betrays the sacrifice that
Yeah.
she made in Endgame. So I don't see that. So I'm in the camp that I do see her sister taking over. Um, and in what capacity does she function in the M Marvel? We'll just have to see how that works out. I think that's what the setup is, and like you said, that post credit scene is supposed to set up this phase at that point. So yeah, I'm excited with you, but yeah, I'm going with her sister takes over.
You got any theories on that post credits? Because on GeekVerse, I've been talking about for a while that I think it's something to set up Thunderbolts, in my opinion.
It would be interesting to see if, as long as we don't go down the route of killing our villains, one
Yeah.
off. I think Taskmaster is a very underrated, but also, I like him as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good pull for him to do it at that point, especially what we've seen with the trailer. So, it could. It's just a question of who's running it at that point.
I guess my worry, not my worry, but my suspicions is because we see Hammer in these trailers. Or am I saying it? No, Thunderbolt Ross. Sorry, not
Yeah.
the Hammer. Thunderbolt Ross. Just
Yeah.
because I feel like he could almost, what we've talked about Norman. If Norman's not that character, he could almost serve as that. I'm going to put together my own squad. And I agree with you. I like Taskmaster better as a villain, but they might kind of take us like a Suicide Squad route and go, it doesn't matter. He's going to be on the team for X, Y, and Z, right?
Get ready for the claims that, there's Marvel copying DC.
Oh yeah, for sure. Squad got the same thing with them copying Guardians, right? It's like a circle.
Yep.
Everybody copies everybody, which you can look at Marvel and DC from the 60s to now. They've both copied each other both times. Slade Wilson.
Or we get, South Park going, Simpsons did it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's movies and TV. There's rare that you can find anything completely original because everyone's inspired by something, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get bent out of shape with it. You're right. Thunderbolt Ross could do it. It'd be one of those things that we haven't seen where their hand is being dealt in that point, because we know where this kind of at least the first initiation of some of these movies going down in the new phase.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where it fits in yet, but doesn't mean that, again, they have to show us all their cards in order to say, we know where exactly we're going. I'm cool with secrets like that.
Yeah. Anything questions, or do we hit them all?
Yeah, we got a few more. One I'll say right off the
yes.
bat, but we're going to answer it a little bit later. Is Travis, our buddy Earth One Travis,
Mm-hmm.
is Travis _156 asks, if you could pick one character from the X-Men universe to start a show on Disney Plus, with whom would it be and why? They can also start moving into the MCU. We're going to hold off on answering this question because it will tie into my fact or fiction later. So we got a few more. We got our last few come from our buddy Nathan at Wobbly Boots 85, and he always gives us some very creative questions. So the first one is, does the Thing use the bathroom to expel waste like the rest of us? And if so, it would have to be a heavy duty toilet, right? In thinking about this, my thing is the bathroom would have to be we'll make use of it. We'll be a rock tumbler, and the rock tumbler would turn his stuff into something we could use at that point. There you go. That's my answer to that.
I just don't, because I've always wondered about the Thing. There's that, in the Kevin Smith, you talk about, does the Thing have a dick, things like that. Like, I just still wonder, what are his organs like, because we've never seen under the rock. So it's just like, is his heart a rock? Is his stomach a rock? Like, we never get that to me. And somebody, I'm sure there's maybe some comic out there, let me know if there is, that'd be great. But I've never personally seen that answer. So I would have to say, I don't think he does, honestly. I don't think he has to use the toilet or has to put out that waste, because if there's nothing really going into it, like, I just imagine that when he eats, all of it just turns into crumbs and it just kind of just falls out of his rocks throughout the day. Like, it's kind of like maybe he's just always kind of, using the facilities, unfortunately, for his team.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I just don't know, because if he doesn't have organs, he doesn't really have to, like, that's the way of using the washroom. You're getting rid of waste, right? And if nothing's really going into his body, then, but we have seen in comics and animated before where he eats and drinks things. So I don't know. The Thing is he's a question onto himself of just how does he work in general, and we've still haven't figured it out in almost, what is it, over 50 years now almost. So yeah, it's crazy to think.
Exactly. I think a lot of these questions with Nathan, you'll find is, I think, Nathan, you need to write a book on just the things that you just want answers to, and you create your own answers to at that point. The next one is, if you were to eat Howard the Duck, how would you prepare him? Well, one, I wouldn't.
No,
I like Howard the Duck. I I don't know. I don't know how to prepare a duck.
Me either. I've never had duck, so that's why I'd be the worst person. One, I don't really eat meat anymore, so I probably wouldn't be eating any
Oh,
duck
okay.
in general. But
There.
I never. That's one I never had. I think I'm trying to.
I've had duck before,
Yeah.
but I just don't. I've never prepared it, so I'll go with however you normally prepare duck at that point.
Yeah. How?
But
Yeah.
again, I'll stick with it. I don't want to eat Howard the Duck.
Nathan, you can hit us back. However you would want to cook the duck, we'll
Yep.
prepare it that way. We'll trust you with the duck.
Yeah. Next, Carol's cat versus Lockjaw. Who wins? So,
Ooh.
for those of you that for watch Captain America, we know that Carol's cat is not necessarily just a cat.
Florkin.
It's an alien. What's
It's
that?
a Florkin, isn't it?
Yeah, Florkin.
Yeah.
Yep, a Florkin. And I would say, just by what I've seen in comics and also what we saw on screen, I think Florkin wins.
Yeah, that's tough. I probably have to go Florkin as well. I'm very biased because I have a British Bulldog right now, and I've owned one before. I'm a big British Bulldog person. I love them. So Lockjaw, he is. I don't want to see what we got in Humans. Take that off my screen. I one day want to see a nice, fully Thanos $1 million production budget Lockjaw on my screen one day with that little antenna. So I hope to see that, but probably. But at the end of the day, like, what's winning? Because if you define if he gets away as losing, like he quit, then fine, the Florkin wins. But if it's just kind of who survives, he could, maybe he's not going to kill Florkin, but he could teleport and get out of there. So it's kind of like he can win by escape. It's kind of like if you watch professional wrestling, if you have a steel cage match, you can win by beating the person or you can escape the cage. So maybe he can like escape the cage, and that's the way. Because maybe he could just tire Florkin out by just keep teleporting. At the end of the day, though, he is kind of still slow. So I'll give to Florkin, but I think Lockjaw could put up a better fight than we know. He is like an Inhuman, right? And he's trained by them, so they could have taught him a few tricks. So
yeah, he's a pretty big dog too.
Yeah.
So next one, how in the heck does Ego, the living planet, not only project himself as a human, but also find a way to change his DNA over to procreate with humans? MCU made Ego a celestial. So I'm going to go with that route. He's a celestial. He can do whatever the heck he wants with his body.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way. It's kind of like if you've read Watchmen, if you've seen the movie, if you've seen the series, which I recommend them all. Dr. Manhattan is like what they kind of refer to. He's pretty much a god, right? And what do they establish in all three of those versions as a god, or even in Doomsday Clock? He can kind of do what he wants, and even in the MCU, multiple times Peter says, "I'm a god," like jokingly, but he does refer to him as like you're a god or have powers of a god. So to me, if there is a god and if that's them, they can kind of do just whatever they want. So it's an easy answer, but it's
a cop-out answer, and he's not going to like it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but when you throw the term if they in canon throw the term god around, that is kind of like carte blanche to be like, we can do whatever we want because it's a god-like character. So that's how I've always taken it.
Yeah, and so our last one, if Juggernaut were running at full speed, unstoppable force, and Thor threw his hammer at the face, would it stop him, or would Juggernaut just barrel right through the hammer?
No, Mjolnir takes him down every time.
Yeah, it's interesting because what creates Juggernaut is the magical crystal. So it's not. So it's like magic versus mysticism / magic at that point. As we know that opening speech in with but Jane Foster in Thor, what you call science, you'd also recur as magic for us. I don't know. It would be a shock at that point if Juggernaut could do it. But yeah, I'm kind of Juggernaut goes down.
Yeah.
get it enough at that point. And he'll that I'm gonna go with Mjolnir too at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
but it would be interesting. I would love the twist that Juggernaut barrels through it. I would love that twist.
Oh yeah, I think that would shock Thor completely, and he wouldn't know what to do at that point. So
yeah, Juggernaut's that powerful. Wow,
Yeah.
that changes some dynamics.
Yeah.
So I like these. Again, listeners, throughout the time, we'll make the call each week. But even if sometimes after the episode you want to ask a question, just DM either one of us, DM the show, message through the show. We'll get you on and we'll get you some answers.
Yeah, no, those were lots of fun. Send them in whenever, and like even if it's like a Bearded Geek, if you just have a opinion on topic, send those. We love talking. Before we get to the main topic, I just want to show. I forgot to do this in the plugs that June 13th over at GeekVerse, we're doing a stream for Black Lives Matter. We're doing a bunch of donations, and if you can't donate, that's completely fine. If you could just share the stream, we really appreciate it. It's very short notice. We're running like a skeleton crew right now, but we're gonna have lots of fun. And this is why I'm showing this out. We're gonna be doing a Black Panther commentary track and a Spider-Verse commentary track for that. It's 15-hour stream, so if you're a Marvel fan, you could enjoy some of those. I think it's gonna be a good time. We've never watched those movies along, so I'm pretty. Anytime you can get me to watch Black Panther and Spider-Verse it's a good time. So it's a good cause. But I completely forgot that because I was probably thinking about what does the Thing do on the toilet, So, but yeah, all the links are gonna be at GeekVerse. So any support, I'd really appreciate that. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to hopefully find some time to at least peer into that at that point. So that's a good thing you guys are putting that on. So
yeah, thank you.
All right, do you want to head to some actual news we have?
Yeah, we got some stuff this week. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel. They help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads, and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown. You're going to hear some ads, and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
We're going to start off with Falcon and Winter Solider. You want to take that one starting off first, since you brought that to my attention?
Yeah, so this is coming from Charles Murphy. He's a guy that if you've kind of run our circles, you've seen he's broken some scoops before. And if you follow me on GeekVerse, I always put people into tiers. So Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline, I have them at the A tier. B tier is like Slash Film and The Wrap. And these aren't like as far as quality people. It's just kind of like their track record and how high they are. I say Charles Murphy is somewhere maybe in like a C+ tier, where it's like, that's no offense to him, but there's some things that have panned out and there's some things that haven't, where most time with a Hollywood Reporter we kind of say that, oh, if it's in there, it's kind of almost 90% confirmed or true. But he had said that there's been talks or maybe even plans for a Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2, but the thing is, it would be, the title would change. So one, I want to get your opinion on that, Chris, as far as just what do you think that could possibly mean? But two, do you think that means that we're never, not, I won't say the word never, because never say never. The Snyder Cut's coming, right? So you can never say never. But do you think that lessens the chance of us getting a solo Captain America film with Sam as the star?
No, I don't think that at all at that point. When in the comics, when Sam was given the shield at that point, he was Captain America. We can easily call it Sam Wilson Captain America. If they want to distinguish it at that point, I don't think it's necessary. Captain America is a symbol. It doesn't matter who's underneath it, who's wielding shield. It's Captain America. You can go to multiverses where we don't say if it's a female, because there were female Captain Americas. We just Captain America. There is going to be a What If, the animated show that's going to say that Peggy becomes Captain America. She gets the serum. I'm very excited about that. So I don't think it does. I think whatever, we've already seen in some of the previews that I don't think the government's too happy signing off on necessarily Sam being Captain America. So that's going to be an interesting kind of storyline going on, but I still think that we will see Sam Wilson as Captain America, and that would be a great ending. Maybe it's the way it ends. We don't know what's happening with Bucky. Bucky may go off on his own and doesn't necessarily do the partnership. Not saying it breaks up, but however they leave him, it won't need Bucky to be a part of it.
See, I agree with you that I think Sam will be the official Captain America. I think that's what this first season will be about. But my theory is if they're already talking about a season 2 and he's kind of hinting at that it would be titled something different, I think the show would be called Captain America and something. Maybe it's just Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's Captain America and the Thunderbolts, because my kind of theory for a while that Bucky, that could be a team he could lead. He's led them in the comics before. But my worry is I honestly did think this was going to be a one and done show. I thought they were going to be, this is kind of like the send off to the Falcon character, and he's going to become, at like you said, at the end of the show, he's Captain America now, and then he goes off into the movies. I think he will, no matter what, be in the Avengers at some point. But I thought, okay, it's Falcon Winter Soldier, and then we'll get a theatrical movie. But me hearing there's a season 2 makes me wonder if they're kind of just keeping him as Captain America to Disney Plus, which is, no insult. Disney Plus is a massive platform, but I want him on the big screen. I want that progression. I think there's lots of story there, especially we'll have to see with Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I think, one, it's because he's a human, but two, even Anthony Mackie's hinting at as far as him being a black man becoming Captain America, that's going to have some ramifications as well. So I'm that's the only part that worries me, that we won't get a Captain America solo film with him.
I don't see that. I think they're pumping the brakes on Captain America since Steve was such a huge part of through Endgame at that point. They want to continue this story, so I'm completely fine with them continuing on a little bit through Disney Plus in a series like that, because we've seen where their plans for these series are to make some kind of connection to the MCU, whether it be the characters moving back into the MCU or leading towards storylines that's going to be more part of MCU storylines. So no, I think we will get Sam on the screen as Captain America. I just think this is a different way to still get our Captain America in it and start building our knowledge, because we know some about Sam, but we don't know everything about Sam. We know some about Bucky. We don't know everything about Bucky. So that's why I think you've got a great platform to explore this in long form storytelling that you would be at a serious disadvantage trying to bring it to the big screen.
Do you think it's a safe prediction that if there is some title change, that the second season is Captain America blank something else, something like that?
I think I think if we're going to kind of establish he's going to be partnering with different things, maybe it's Black Widow.
Oh,
maybe it's our new Black Widow, Captain America and Black Widow,
Captain America. That could make a lot of sense. That could be fun. Yeah. Okay. I
get people to look at. My theory is her sister, get to know her. If she's going to be the new Black Widow, get to know her in that role a lot more now that she may be taking over for him. Again, my opinion.
No, I like what you're putting down. I'm just very excited. I hope that they give him the full Falcon Captain America suit, because that is a beautiful suit in the comics. I love the wings and everything. So I know he has a new suit for this show, but I'm very happy for that day to happen. I know you mentioned the Peggy Carter what if thing. I cannot wait for that series. That's something that just, I love the comics. That's something we've been talking about in GeekVerse that I hope with Star Wars they eventually do the same thing, like an animated show. I think what ifs they're just massive potential, because it's literally an open slate for you to do anything you want, because this isn't canon. So I'm very excited for that show.
That'll be good. So our next one is, I know you got very excited. It was just like right after our first episode dropped. This had broke. Another one from Charles Murphy. Evan Peters playing mystery role in WandaVision. Travis, would you remind us who Evan Peters is and why everyone in the Marvel community is freaking out about this?
Well, people love him from American Horror Story. That's where, no, I'm joking. Yeah. But
I do. I know.
Oh no, I
I really like him in that series.
I do too. That's where I had seen. I think I'd feel like I'd seen him in some like teen drama or something, but I'd seen that. But yeah, so he played Quiksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and I guess in Dark Phoenix, but if you blinked, you missed him because the writers had no idea what to do with that character. I wanted to get your thoughts first on what are you thinking about this situation? Because we talked on Twitter. We haven't really talked about all, but all I said, and I think it stays true as far as you putting Evan Peters, who's played Quiksilver, in a show about Wanda that is, in continuity, his sister, you're going to get a lot of eyebrows raised. Now, it's not, they didn't announce this. So that's the thing where this could have been a plan that you could have seen a scene, is that Evan Peters? And they kept it a secret. So that's why I think if they announced this, maybe it was a bit more, something spooky going on. But still, it is quite a peculiar situation to be put in right now. So what are you thinking?
That this leaked, nothing. If he is truly cast in WandaVision, they're doing this for a reason. They know his history. They know what he's done at that point. Wanda, if she is with her powers altering reality, they can't say that, she can bring in this is how we start bringing in the mutants, or it's a simple recast. And guess what? Just like characters change all the time, we had Rhodey in one actor, and then we had it with another. And I think it's the best line ever. I'm here, deal with it. See, we could get him recast as our Quiksilver at that point. That would be interesting.
That's interesting to me, because for me, the the recast though is Don Cheadle. Obviously, he's a different actor. He's playing a little bit different version, but it's still you're coming in to play this character. The Quicksilver in Age of Ultron is very different than the Quicksilver in X-Men. So that
True.
would be a big overhaul. That's where I'm kind of on the, if it's anything, it's a kind of a multi-universe sort of thing. Maybe some
And
swapping.
that's my other theory as well.
Yeah, so this opens up a bigger question for me. So I'm very excited. I'm somebody, I'm like maybe the majority of the world. When I saw those pictures of Evan Peters for Days of Future Past, I was pretty disappointed. I was like, what are we doing here? The goggles, the look. But the second he walked on the screen, and that's kind of one of those things where don't judge it till it's on screen, it made sense. It fit the character. So for me,
Oh, he did so well with it.
oh yeah,
So well.
and it's a character that I loved him in Days of Future Past, and then was constantly frustrated with, not because his performance is great. Evan Peters, I joked about because the Marvel fans, but a legitimately American Horror Story, he's always playing a very different character every season, and he's one of my guys. I don't think it will ever happen because who knows, but he was my fan cast for a while to play the next Joker if we get a younger Joker, because he just can bring such raw intensity to any role. So I think it's just an actor, if he is, let's say he's not playing Quicksilver, just as an actor alone, he's a great talent to add, and you always want to add talent. So right, whatever he's playing, even if he's playing the mailman, he'll play the great mailman, you know. So
And it could be, like you said, a very quick kind of nod to the hat. I mean, the article goes on to say he could be playing anyone from Nicholas Scratch to Mephisto. I mean, again, the door's wide open, but they're not casting him without a plan, and they know what he brings to it, what he's done there. So again, this could be a multiverse in. They could be doing a recast, or they could become someone completely different and just do a legacy saying, hey, you were part of Marvel on the Fox side, would like to bring you in and see what you can do on this. Sky's the limit.
yeah, and I think with them, because obviously no matter what, I do think if it's kind of a secret role, it is bigger. And I think, again, because he's a talented guy, I was very disappointed with one in Apocalypse that we never ever explored his relationship with his dad, because that is just a prime, just so much meat on the bone there that they literally for 2 movies just left, never acknowledged it. Just they introduced this, especially in I hate Apocalypse so much. No, I don't hate it, but just that, like, how they tease you the whole movie. He's gonna tell his dad, and then at the end of the movie they're like, oh, you talked to him? He's like, nah, I'm not gonna tell. I was like, all right. And then in Dark Phoenix, again, they clearly just had no idea to do with that character, because they give him one cool scene and they write him out. So there is a chance, because I feel I'm in this bandwagon where I don't think Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver is disliked. I just think it didn't really leave an impression on people. I think people went, oh, it's fine, but I didn't gleam onto it. You know, it's nothing like Black Panther.
Yeah, I was disappointed.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I know why, story-wise, that's important. I'm not criticizing. I'm just disappointed that was it for the character.
Yeah.
But I totally get why they did it.
Yeah, but even then, for me, I was disappointed with the character and that they killed him. But even just his appearance to me, like when we saw Ant-Man for the first time, Spider-Man, Black Panther, they left an impression on me. I left Civil War being like, I cannot wait to see a Black Panther movie. With Quicksilver and Age of Ultron, I was like disappointed he died, but I wasn't actually that deflated, because I went, I didn't really like that version of the character. It's probably because we had the other Quicksilver literally running around. So I wanted to throw back to you this question. So obviously Quicksilver could be a possibility. I'm not going to get my hopes up because I don't want to get that excited. Just the fact that he got casted was enough, so I'm going to keep it at a bar. But I think it's interesting as far as, what do you think the likelihood of other Fox X-Men characters coming over? Because we have this going around, and I don't know if you remember this article months ago. Patrick Stewart said he at one point had a meeting with Kevin Feige, which is very strange. And he, after this, said, oh, I'm kind of done with the role. We just kind of chatted and didn't really lead to anything. But it's a strange thing that, okay, maybe Kevin Feige said, like, hey, we want your blessing to recast you, but that they don't need to do that. That's not a thing that you usually do. So the fact that you kind of have this rumor going around, you have Patrick Stewart saying he's talked to Kevin Feige about possibilities. What do you think is the percentage or probability that we could see some other Fox X-Men characters, whether it be Quicksilver or anyone else? Because we've heard now a few rumblings here and there. And my last point to you is the reason I'm a bit more on the bandwagon is because the second J.K. Simmons wasn't Far From Home, to me that changed everything, and that showed they're willing to go back in the Rolodex to pull stuff from the past. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I don't. Percentage-wise, I think it's a 50-50 shot. I don't see, unless it's just a very quick cameo, just to say tip of the hat at that point. But I'd say it'd be kind of these, and I put minor in quotes, like these, not the majors, like a Hugh Jackman coming in. Yeah, I think that ship has sailed a while ago. That's done. But I think like an Evan Peters, maybe some of the other mutants, maybe Olivia Munn, some certain other woes that weren't the big names, but that could kind of carry on or be recast as a legacy. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, like we said, give me what you got, and then I'll form my opinion later.
Other than Wolverine, which you may be on the other side because lots of people like the send off, I was always somebody that won the crossover. Now that Downey and Evans aren't around, I'm past it because I always wanted to see Hugh Jackman with those guys, like that main, their Trinity. So I'd say, unless Hugh Jackman, you're kind of on the bandwagon. Other than him, is there one, if Kevin Feige calls you and says, hey, we can bring one of these actors over playing this character, who's your kind of first round draft pick if you got the choice?
First round draft pick from the X-Men universe.
Yeah. For the Fox one, so it's the same actor playing that character.
Yeah.
You could obviously retool it. Maybe he has a new personality, it's maybe he's in this consciousness now. But you get your one draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, I would love Hugh Jackman. I wanted to do something different in that sense. He brought some. I would love to see someone else bring something, their own take on it. I would love to have. It got me excited with Patrick Stewart. I'm sorry, he is Charles Xavier. It's not taking anything away from First Class or anything like that. I mean, there's a reason they model everyone after Patrick Stewart. He was everyone's fan casting before the movie became a reality. He is still, not only, I mean, for crying out loud, he's not only Captain Jean-Luc Picard, or excuse me, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, but also, Professor Charles Xavier. I would love to bring him back in there.
He was one of those two. I feel the first two fan castings, like before the internet or when the internet was in its infancy, was everybody. I wasn't alive at that point, but everyone talked about how everyone wanted Jack Nicholson for the Joker, and that happened. And everyone wanted Patrick Stewart for Xavier, and that happened. There's a few other cases in our instance, like with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, but that was one of those first big ones. For me, it's tough because obviously I'm not going to get too deep into it because we're going to one day do an in-depth conversation on X-Men because I have so many questions I want to ask, but I'm saving them. For me, it's tough because I don't know what route they're going with Charles and Charles and Eric, because are they going to go they're older, or are they going to go they're younger? If they're going younger, I get Fassbender every time because I'm on the other side of I love Ian McKellen. I thought he was perfect, and then I met Michael Fassbender and I knew what perfection was because I just think he and I also think with Ian McKellen, he just didn't get as good as material as Fassbender did. He was great acting. He was playing more the villainous side, but even in those lesser movies like Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, I think Fassbender still brings in. He usually has some stuff to chew on, like that scene where he loses his family is heartbreaking. And right there, you take a character who's done terrible things, but you make him sympathetic, and you go, man, these people, these humans just took everything. He, for years, tried to build new life. He built it, was doing his own thing. He saved a person, and then they took this away from him. And I always thought, no matter how low those movies got, they handled him well. And I just think he can just switch from being that caring, cheering, we want to be with on our side to, man, he is a despicable human being in a second. And Fassbender is, for me, he's one of my favorite actors. I think he's one of the best working actors today. So he'd be my draft pick. Again, I don't know if you could do you'd have to leave the whole, he's the dad of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and I'm fine. You can always, add in some of his other kids. We've kind of gone past that point. I don't think Wanda is in the point where she needs a father figure, where at least where we are in the MCU. So that he's always been my draft pick, number one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one too as well. So
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel. They help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads, and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown. You're going to hear some ads, and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
So yeah, do you want to head into some Spider-Man news? Just a little bit here or there. These are probably gonna be quick hits. We don't have too much there, but there's a little bit there.
Yeah, no, all I'll say is I'm excited to see, hopefully, Wandavision we get this year. Rumors they're filming in July again, so I just want to see one MCU Disney Plus show just to see what it's like. So, but yeah, I'm ready to. I don't know. I am ready, but I'm not ready to talk about Sony at the same time.
Let me do the proper name for it, and then hold back the vomit in my mouth as I try to say the word. The Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, SPUMC.
Yeah.
All right. Now that I got that out of my system, since you kind of hinted towards it earlier, do you want to start off with J.K. Simmons and him coming back and expanding possibly his role for JJJ?
Yeah. So, I'm excited. I am. This is something, and this is another topic we're gonna do one day. You'll learn. I like the Marvel Sony Spider-Man movies, but I've kind of been a little disappointed with them. I've always said on GeekVerse for years that I feel like a lot of their movies are being different for the sake of being different. Well, we don't want to do Goblin again because we've done them 2 times. For me, I'm disappointed because I want to see these characters done right or a bit more comic accurate. So I got excited like everyone else when I saw JK, and I'll take more JK. It's a phenomenal casting. I just think I don't think it all depends on Spider-Man 3 because if Peter's personality or his identity is out there, we're not gonna get that same relationship. And they have even said it's almost like a Alex Jones sort of take, which I don't mind. But
Mhm.
it's kind of like when we talk about Ultimate Goblin. I'll take it if it's good. Then I will say, hey, they did a good job with it. But there'll always be a part of me that goes, it's not the version I lean to, and I think that's fine. Everybody has that, whether it's Spider-Man or Batman. Everyone has. You can like multiple versions, but everyone has something they lean to. I would lean towards I want to see Peter doing Daily Bugle stuff in the MCU. But I'm happy he signed on, but I don't think we're gonna get that classic Jonah, and that to me is where I get a little less excited. So that's my thoughts. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, we get this story. I think it broke June 2nd. I'm just reading from Cinema
Mm-hmm.
Blendy. They've got the quote that he was giving in an interview when asked, what are the plans? Are you coming back for more? He says, I don't know if I would use the word expect. When we signed on for the first movie, we signed a contract to do 2 sequels as well, which is always a one-sided contract where you're committed to it to do it, but you're not necessarily committed. They're not necessarily committed to use your character in the ensuing movies. So it was great to have the opportunity to return as things evolve to be one of those holdovers from the previous version. So he wants to do the character. I,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very emblematic also of the Spider-Man video game on PS4, what
Yeah.
they turned that character into as well. So yeah, we want to see that relationship that Peter and JJJ have, but I'm cool with the evolution that they're doing with it. It paints a new character. He's still, I think, the post credit scene with him being in it at that point. I thought that was really cool. I Was it the post credits or was it just at the end? I think it
It
was
was the
post.
post credits, yeah, because it
Okay.
ended with because I
Yep.
literally just watched it a few days ago because I did a trilogy of Infinity War, Endgame, and that back to back because it's kind of like a nice little epilogue there, and yeah, it's the post credit scene and you get
Yeah.
the whole his name's Peter Parker.
Yep, I think it's a great transition to the character to the age we're living in. A transition from print to online, and if it's an quote unquote Alex Jones thing, I think can't get any more than J Jonah Jameson doing that route. So I'd be excited. I think we will see him again in the next movie. I think there was such a positive fan reaction to it. I think they're going to use him again.
Well, I got a few points. One, J.K. It was smart of him to say that because I imagine because remember they were making Spider-Man 4. I imagine somewhere in his career he has a Spider-Man 4 contract that was never used, and we kind of know that he has a contract for Justice League 2 and the Batman that are just sitting there, right? So it's like he's been through this before, where it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna be in Ben Affleck's The Batman. Great, I cannot wait. A crime we never got to see. Like we will never talk too much of because it's a Marvel centric show. But I just got to shout. I cannot believe we still never got enough Ben Affleck and J.K. Simmons as those two together. That would have been
It
fantastic.
would have been.
Yeah, because J.K. It's just I watched that, and then recently you'll see on an upcoming podcast with Katie. I watched La La Land, and J.K. he can just do anything. So that's why I like him as the Alex Jones route. But I also liked the storyline when he started dating like Aunt May's friend and stuff like that. I think you could I
Yeah.
think you could really have some fun with him, and as an actor, he's just very talented. But so I have two questions for you. One, do you miss the hair?
I've gotten used to him without the hair as the actor at that point. I think the portrayal in Sam Raimi was perfect comic accuracy at that point. Um, yeah, I mean, if we're going for that, I miss the hair, but I like the actor so
Yeah,
much that I've just gotten used to. I hear that voice. He's very accomplished at that point, but he nails J. Jonah Jameson.
and
So I could take the hair, take it or leave it. That voice is just what's
I
critical.
agree with you. I agree. I miss it sometimes, but I think if he was more in a movie, I'll get a bit more used to it because I just it's only that end credit scene. But if it's hair versus the actor, I'm definitely taking back. And two, I
Yeah.
didn't ask you this last week because it was not the topic and we were talking about the storylines and whatnot. But you kind of made it sound. I don't know if you're in this camp about what do you you kind of said that, oh, maybe Peter's identity could just kind of come back and they might kind of not find a way to write it off, but find a cute way to kind of button it. Because I've never asked you this, what are your thoughts? Are like Spider-Man 3 is after Spider-Man 3, Far From whatever the home tale is going to be, will come time the next crossover, Spider-Man, will his identity be safe again, or will he be Spider-Man in the public? Because I don't think we've ever talked about that, you and I.
No, we haven't. I like the idea of the revelation in the sense I like it. It's a cool thing, but I don't know. I don't know. I think we've seen it so many times. In Civil War when it gets revealed, and
Mm-hmm.
then we get that awful, awful, awful one more day, and snaps it back.
Here comes Evan Peters
Eh,
as
yeah, exactly.
Mephisto.
But I I think there's something lost if Peter's identity is out there. I don't think he hasn't established himself as much. I think what made it dangerous for him is all the villains that could have came after him. He hasn't established himself that much outside of a few in common criminals to have this just out there at that point. Now we could take it to what I want that we could do. Let's just say, for instance, that the idea is, he the identity revealed, and we do what I talked about last week with the
Yeah.
gauntlet. Maybe they're created as a result of it,
Yeah.
try to take him down at that point. So you could go down that route as well.
I'm kind of in your same camp where I'm not closed off to anything, but it is just I think it adds with him being younger that adds something different. But we're gonna get that a few more times coming out, like Miss Marvel. There's some characters that they've announced. There's always been rumors of Young Avengers, so there's some other characters that might be coming in the future that cover that young base, so that won't be as unique anymore. I do like him with his identity. I'm not opposed to it ever coming out, but I think that there's still room to play. I'm actually a fan of, I can't remember, I think maybe they just called it The Amazing Spider-Man. You would know better than me. It's the comics the past few years they've done where he's kind of like a billionaire. He's like the new Tony where he runs his
Mhm.
own company and I actually love the suit they give him. It's kind of like an armor flesh one. But the thing is you have
Yeah.
Miles underneath them. So it's kind of like I feel when you have an actor or that storyline for Miles, because I am hoping that they keep this partnership up, despite maybe some Venom Morbius crossover. I hope it is, and I hope they teased it already. I hope we do get to see the live action version of Miles, and I think that's when you could reveal it, when he wants to be more of a, Tom Holland is maybe, let's say, in his 30s or late 30s, and they want to transition him out to be kind of a smart Hulk character where he's not the main focus, but he's around. I think that's when you could do it. I think there's still enough stuff and characters that we haven't seen with his personality to use, and that's another thing I guess we talked about earlier, but I think if his personality is out there, to me that takes away a lot of the fun of the, if that happens, we're never getting that classic Green Goblin, because that's kind of a fun, like I know they've done that in movies where he finds out, but that's always a fun dynamic of you can keep that secret because Goblin doesn't know that's his son's best friend. But if he just knows it's Peter Parker, that tension's completely gone, right? All that stuff. So I'm in the
Mhm.
camp where I hope they find a way, but I honestly think they're gonna keep it that his identity's out there. It's tough. Yeah, it's really tough for me. I guess for me, it also depends on we don't know how much further the relationship goes on, right? So that's always
Mhm.
a monkey wrench. So, but yeah, that's
Yep.
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But I'm gonna these next two are kind of combined at that point, and it'll be the end of our Spider-Man discussions at this point, and kind of brings me to you know I don't know what Sony's doing outside of Venom. I don't. I get Venom. I really enjoyed the movie at this point, but these next two, Madam Web and Jackpot being brought into the MCU. I'm reading from Variety is Sony secret Marvel movie from Sony in the works with director S.J. Clarkson, and she is signed on to develop a first female centric movie from Sony's catalog. So while it's unconfirmed, the character at center will be, insiders say, will be based on Madam Web. Um, I like Madam Web.
Mhm.
I think she brings in a very kind of the mystic side of the Spider-Man's powers, his abilities, things like that. I'm not asking for a Spider-Man Madam Web movie. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be cool, but it's not one of those things that I don't know. I think she's a great director. I really do, but I'm not. Not many people are saying I want a Madam Web movie.
Yeah, I think so. A few angles for me on this one. I think if this movie happens, it all depends on Morbius. Venom is a name that people know. Venom is a huge
Mhm.
character. He was already in a Spider-Man 3, and everyone can talk about if the movie's being bad, whatnot, whatever you want to think about that. That I think up until I think it was until Far From Home, that was still the highest-grossing Spider-Man in 2007. So even in like these Amazing Spider-Mans, Spider-Man Homecoming with like Inflection or everything like that, it still was the highest grossing one. So that means a lot of people
Yeah.
saw Venom. You know, a lot of people know that
Oh yeah.
character. People have seen the animated series Venom. That just that design is iconic, right? The black suit. So to me, it always had that. And I think a lot of people love Tom Hardy. He has that effect of guys want to be him, and girls or anyone that's into him. Just he has a massive fan base. So I think it kind of was the kind of everything at the right time happening for Venom to be a big hit. I did not think it was going to be that big of a hit. It was a nearly $1 billion film, so very impressive.
Very close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for me, Morbius is the test to see if this actually happens. Because Morbius,
I agree.
my parents know who Venom is. My grandma knows who Venom is. They don't know at all who Morbius is. They don't know, they and
Yeah. It begs the same question. It's like, yeah, he's a vampire. That'll get you, but I don't know many people that are asking for a Morbius movie either.
yeah, and I
So,
think it's tough with Jared Leto because
which is fine. I'm not saying that just because I'm not asking for it or the main community wasn't asked for it doesn't mean that it can't be a good movie or I'm not going to see it. I'm going to see it. It's just one of those like head scratcher ones. But I had the same head scratcher with Guardians of the Galaxy, and look where we are. So I am not one of these fans where I'm already going to sell it. No, I'm open
yeah.
to give it a chance. I'm just not seeing it yet.
And I think even though you have like Jared Leto who has 30 seconds to Mars, and he is part of Suicide Squad, which was another movie, was a massive hit, but that you could argue was that more the Joker than him. I think Tom Hardy has a bigger following film wise, like film movie going wise, than Jared Leto. So I think Jared Leto's a star, but I don't think it is a hey, we got Bradley Cooper and he's playing Morbius. I don't think he's at that level right now where a bunch of people are gonna go see it just based on him. So I'm very curious to see the movie in general, see the results. And for me, why I'm just not for Jackpot or Madam Web, I would be so down with Madam Web. And I think she would actually fit perfect in the MCU right now with Doctor Strange going on, and we're getting more mystical, especially with Blade coming up and Moon Knight.
Yeah, but just not a solo movie. I don't
Yeah.
think it's one where you could carry it like, and it kind of leads you to what you're saying with Jackpot. Deadline broke towards the end of May. Mark Guggenheim is scripting a movie, Jackpot, for it. And for those that don't know Jackpot, because not necessarily a household name, she's a superhero with exceptional strength, kind of a convoluted storyline. While pregnant and doing gene therapy research, she's exposed to a virus that rewrote her DNA. Her baby's born healthy, but she realizes she's got superhuman strength and has to save her family many times. She eventually hands it off to someone else who takes on the name, gets killed. She feels guilty. She continues her secret identity in war on crime. But, Spider-Man has such amazing characters. I'm not trying to say that Jackpot isn't or Madam Web isn't, but there are much better choices. If they want to launch a female-focused Spider-Man universe, Spider-Gwen,
I know.
Black Cat, Silver Sable, if I am all about a female focused Spider-Man universe, but there are much bigger name characters that have maybe just a little more recognition and passes the eye test than Jackpot and Madam Web.
Well, that's the thing you bring up, and that's the obvious one. And people, you can hear for the first time here, if you're new listeners, I might be a little bit biased, but my first daughter, she's named after Gwen Stacy. I love the Gwen Stacy character. I love Spider-Gwen. So I'm a little biased, but I feel that character is just growing in popularity. It feels like the early days of right when Harley Quinn was starting to blow up, and then it's like now she's everywhere. She has her series. With that comic that came out, she was in Spider-Verse. She's been in multiple video games now. She's becoming a character where people know who she is. It's not just, oh, who is she? I hate the name Ghost Spider. I'm not a fan of that. I get why they did it in the real world so she could have a name, but people still know her as Spider-Gwen primarily. And I think it's frustrating with the Spider-Gwen thing is because that takes place in a parallel universe. So it's not like, how do you explain her and Tom Holland? You don't have to. There's another Peter Parker. The same thing they did with Miles is that's the best way of when it's like kind of we've had this discussion, people talking about like, oh, what's going to happen when you have the Snyder Cut and Robert Pattinson at the same time. This beats that because it's not that same character. You can do a spider-centric character, even if it's, which like you said, I'm down for the female-centric, but even if it's Miguel O'Hara, give me a 2099 Spider-Man. That's right there because I think it being in a Blade Runner world would put it so far away from the MCU, people aren't going to get confused. Even Spider-Gwen, like obviously it's comics, but the aesthetic is so different. And I don't think the comics are some of the best I've ever read, but I love the art. The art is phenomenal in those. So I think there's lots on the plate that I don't know why these are the two. It feels like they put a bunch of names in the hat and they picked them.
And that's what came out.
Yeah, and before you go, my last point is I feel this is the thing. As far as any comic book franchise, you can take something like the DCU where I'm a fan of it, I'm not a fan of some of it, but even stuff where I'm not a fan, like something like Man of Steel, I look at it and go, you know what, Zack Snyder, he had a vision and he's really passionate about this, and I get he loves this character in this universe and his vibe. I don't feel that with Sony. So anything DCU doing, or example, Fox X-Men, I could go, oh, I feel like there's a vision here. Like even Simon Kinberg, he talked very passionately about Dark Phoenix. It didn't work out, but I believed he tried or wanted to make something great. Sony, I think, okay, all corporations, all these films, Disney, Marvel, DC, they're all doing this so they can get our money, right? So I always understand that. But there's a happy medium, and this, what Sony is doing, just feels like they are just going for the money. They don't have a vision, they're not going for passion, and hopefully I'm proven wrong. Hopefully Morbius comes out, hopefully these other ones, but for me it just feels like they have an IP, and in a world where IP matters, they're just pumping out as much as they can, and I'm not a fan of this universe at all. I'm also on the camp, I may be alone, or not alone, in the minority. I'm in the camp where if it takes Venom and Morbius come in the MCU, I'm fine if we lose Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I love him, but I don't need that universe over there. I'm somebody that liked Venom enough, but I wasn't a fan of a lot of things they did. So I just feel like they're just doing it for IP, and I know most are, but this just feels so egregious, and it's frustrating. Especially Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, Spider-Gwen may be just tied up in, Into the Spider-Verse 2, which is fine. That's why it may not be on the table for that one. But again, I'll leave it at that. I think they're better characters. There's better female-centric characters that they could choose. But again, prove me wrong. Please do. I will be glad to be proven wrong at that point. More of this stuff out there that's done with good writing, good actors, it helps the genre out.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel. They help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads, and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown. You're going to hear some ads, and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we've nice having some news, to talk about at that point. But we're gonna, do our segment of fact or fiction. But I know you had put out there getting the fans' opinion on some of the fact or fictions that you chose and what the fans felt. So why don't you tell us what they thought?
Yeah, so if you missed it, go back last week. You listened to our conversation. So we're just going to give you the fan thing. So you can go follow us on Marvel A Podcast. We will every week, throughout the week, kind of tweet out. We do 3, and I'm very excited to hear what Chris has cooking for this week. So last week, so these are the results. So I put out Will Captain Marvel 2 make $1 billion? 62%, and the majority went fiction. So they kind of agreed with us on that one. For Blade's MCU debut will be in a solo film and not a Spider-Man Black Panther-esque style cameo. Fact. So you were fact. I was kind of fiction, but you talked me over to fact. So we're with the fans on that one. But you and me were both fiction on this one, but the fans disagreed. 60% when Wolverine appears in the MCU in the next 6 years. So I kind of was surprised about that one, that because there were a few people that commented and said, oh, yeah, I think if it was 10, I'd say fact. But the fact that it's still won with over 20% shows that maybe that's just more people hoping and putting that out there in the universe if they want to hear that schnink somewhere. And,
I'm okay with hope. Hope is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, those are results. So, yeah, every week go there. We kind of drop them sporadically throughout the week. And then, as I say always, if you have your own, drop them. We'd love to discuss them. So, yeah, Chris, what do you got cooking? I've been very curious, especially when you said you had to hold off on one of Trev's questions. So I'm ready. I'm ready for these fact or fictions.
So, yeah, we'll start off with that one because I know Travis is definitely saying, oh, come on. I wanted to know. Well, you know it. So he asked if you could pick one character from the X-Men universe to start on Disney Plus that would eventually lead into MCU. Well, my fact or fiction is we get a new X-Men or X-Woman that it will be the new lead in the MCU version of the X-Men. That is not Wolverine.
Okay, so by lead, you think like so obviously because like even in the X-Men movies, like Scott was the leader, but you mean main character, right?
Yeah, main character. So, we kind of had Wolverine kind of
Mm-hmm.
in the Fox universe at that point, and then in First Class, Mystique was
Yeah.
kind of our main journeyman throughout the whole thing. So it ties kind of into Travis's question. So that's why I wanted to hold off on answering it at that point. So yeah, that is my thing. It will not be Wolverine.
I will say fact, two things. Maybe tune into a World's Finest True Believers in the future because I have
Mhm.
maybe a storyline to talk about that may have some evidence towards that. But I'm going to say fact because I think the X-Men film will debut with no Wolverine. I think it's safe to keep him either away or he's a big enough IP because we talked about this with a few of our fans on Twitter this week or listeners that of what do you do with the Wolverine issue, right? If you got Hugh Jackman, now you got Laura Kinney, who's kind of like Spider-Gwen. She's getting more and more popular every year. I think there
Yep.
is a version where, and we'll talk about this on X-Men Cast, but I think there's a version where there's a movie called Logan or something, something else. Maybe it is just Wolverine, and they give her a new name, but she's kind of the Wolverine for the X-Men. So it's kind of anytime there's a big crossover, he can come back home and join the X-Men. But I think that's one thing I do have worries because I kind of expressed them earlier with Spider-Man as far as with X-Men. I think they're going to change a lot of stuff and a lot of things I'm going to miss. But I think one thing that I do trust Kevin Feige is we have not gotten a great interpretation of Scott Summers. I think even in the last ones with Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, it still never feels like he's the lead. I feel like in the next,
I
yeah,
agree.
I feel like in the next X-Men, it will be his story or Jean's story or both of their story. I don't even think maybe they won't even be starting in love, but I think Feige, it's kind of like he's going to make him the next kind of Captain America-esque, the golden boy, but is willing to do everything for his friends and family, but will not sacrifice his morals for a lesser cause. He'll do everything for the greater cause to help his people out. So I'm going to say fact because I don't think Wolverine's in the first X-Men, and I think it will be somebody else.
So would you keep that as your answer to answer Travis's question is a character into Disney Plus that will get it into the MCU?
No, I think because we talked about that as well on Twitter. I think Wolverine definitely is not getting a Disney Plus show. It's just that's too much money to leave on the table. The second they do an MCU Wolverine movie, that I think is $1 billion in a few years past COVID. I don't think so. I think all my main X-Men, and I know it sounds like because it was a Captain America and I'm downtroding Disney Plus, but I think there is still a tier, and theatrical is still the big game in my opinion. It's still that's where the money is. That's where people are going to go out and see all the time. So I think none of these people would have that. I think I try to think of a mainstay, and I thought potential Gambit could work as a Disney Plus series to kind of work them. You got the Guild of Thieves, you got his story, and it could kind of end the same way we talked about with Falcon becoming Captain America. It could end with him showing up on Charles Mandarin or him meeting Rogue, and we could finally get that real Rogue relationship back and forth. Like that relationship could be this generation's Han Solo and Princess Leia if done right and correctly. So I think if I don't think it'd be any of those characters, and if I had to pick, I think it would be I could see Gambit because I think that would get enough people really excited. I don't think it'll be Channing Tatum though.
Yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, so if you want my own opinion on the fact or fiction,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think it is fact. I don't Wolverine will be back, but we're gonna get a new mainstay. And I think my mainstay, it's funny that you said Scott. I say Jean.
Yep.
I say and my biggest complaint is we've done this twice. We have not cracked Dark Phoenix. We have not cracked the Phoenix Saga. And one of the biggest reasons, now the first iteration of the Fox, they did okay, but they failed. They didn't stick the landing. They could have been so much better. But in order to have a true Phoenix Saga, you need to give Jean Grey a lot more to grow with. And that is why I say, I'm cool with sharing the limelight with Scott.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Jean is someone that I think has done a lot, could do a lot better, and I think you can flesh that story out now. I'm not begging for a Phoenix Saga for a while. We need to put that away.
Yeah.
We've tried twice. We need to put it away. It'll come back, but we'll put that away. Go watch X-Men the animated series on Disney Plus, and you'll see what a Phoenix Saga done right is.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And back to the Spider-Gwen thing, my second daughter, Jean, is her middle name, and it's because
Look at that.
of Jean Grey. X-Men is my stuff. So if Jean was the lead, I would prefer that. I have no problems. I think that's a great relationship between her and Charles, both being telepaths and being kind of very similar. Of her being the first X-Men in a sense, you could really. I think there's something there that they haven't still touched. So yeah, I'm all for that.
To answer Travis's question, I'm kind of on this kick lately. We just wrapped up. My wife and I wrapped up watching Ozarks, and kind of anti heroes and things like that. I would love to see a Disney Plus looking at either the Hellfire Club or the Brotherhood of
Mm.
Mutants at that point, and just kind of getting the world in perspective of their eyes. Yeah, we see them as villains, but the best villains see them as they're heroes of their own story and make them more of an antagonist to see, kind of like Magneto is.
Yeah.
He sees a different world. Yeah, he doesn't go about it the right way, but you can't say he doesn't somewhat have a point, just kind of like what we talked about with
Yeah.
Killmonger. He's a villain, but he's become more of an antagonist, and it's like he has a point. He has a reason. So I would love to see a Disney Plus to introduce kind of those ideas that way. I know it's not a character, but it was hard for me to see. I would like to see a show given around those organizations and that movement.
Yeah, I'd
So
be down. I think the like creepy cultness of the Hellfire Club hasn't really been touched upon, other than almost what you referred to in the animated series. But as far as movies, I actually really liked Kevin Bacon and Sebastian Shaw. But
oh yeah, no, he did a
yeah,
great
he did
job.
great. But the actual club itself was just kind of there, right? It was just a name, but he was great. So I'd like more of that dynamic. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. So all right, my next one, we're going back to Spidey.
Okay.
All right. And you also kind of hinted for that, and I didn't want to respond. I'm glad you didn't dwell on it too much. If Spider-Man is allowed to be kept in the MCU, the cycle of recasting Spider-Man after 3 films will stop, and Tom Holland will continue portraying the character, and we will get to see Peter enter college and do a new series of films.
So this is if he's still tied to the MCU, right?
Yeah, I mean, or we stop recasting Spider-Man after 3 films.
Uh, I think so. I think because he's talked about. I think age is the thing that is in his benefactor because
Yes.
he's younger. He's gonna age into the role properly. Everyone loves him. Everyone thinks he's the best Spider-Man. I do think
And he loves the character.
Oh yeah, he
Obviously,
has so much passion.
he cried to Bob Iger and everyone to keep it.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think like I love my Tobey Maguire, but I do think Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man Peter combo. So I think we will. Yeah, I think I almost like either way. I think I'm gonna go fact with whether he's with the MCU or they have another bad breakup and it's just Sony. I think both they might not agree on things, but I think both Sony and Marvel Studios could agree that there's money in Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I think he just has a good social media following. People really like him. He seems to be a genuine nice guy. Like you said, he's talked about his like drunk calling to Bob Iger during that situation, like, "Hey, I want to be Spider-Man." So I think it's a fact. I think we'll get the first ever person playing Spider-Man for the 4th time. How about you?
Yeah, I want this to happen. I really, really want it to happen just because it's such a tried and true. 3 movies, then we get another character. It's so rare when we see certain mainstays just continue on with these type of superhero movies. So, I mean, I want it to happen. So I'm going to will it as a fact. So my last one, it kind of is a cheat based off yours, but I like the character and I want to see what you say about that. Daredevil will return to the MCU, but it will not be a solo movie. It will be on Disney Plus as a gateway to be part of the MCU, not as a solo, but in a team up movie.
And
We will not see Daredevil as a solo movie. He will start on streaming and he will get into it, but not in a solo movie, being a team up in the MCU.
is this still in your mind played by Charlie Cox or a new actor?
I mean, I want Charlie Cox, but I just don't know
So
anymore.
just
So
Daredevil in general.
I'm just going with the
Okay.
character of it because my reason behind it is I think I love Daredevil. I mean, I'm looking at my shelf right now. I've got Daredevils from Miller to Bendis to Brubaker to Wade. And the problem I think that Daredevil on the big screen, that we've only got one crack at it, but what streaming did, what the Netflix show did, is that this is a character that is very layered.
Oh yeah.
Lots of different things and lots of different interpretation. I mean, from Bendis to Brubaker to Wade, that character goes through a ton of stuff. And if you try to compare what Wade did to Brubaker and Bendis, they are starkly different, but there's reasons behind it. And I think there's so much more to explore than in a 2.5 hour movie that was proven to done so well on Netflix. Um, and I think that that's where that character can thrive, and appreciation for that character to thrive is on streaming, and then bring him over to a team up movie, whether it be a Defenders, whether it be Avengers, whether it be,
Midnight
whatever team
Suns
up they
people have
want to
been
do.
wanting to, which I think that's a possibility if you got Blade and Moon Knight coming. That's
Yeah.
two out of those members, and you already have Doctor Strange, and he's been a part of that, so you could easily do that. This is the toughest one you've asked, because the other ones I had to think about, but I'm like, okay, I feel strongly. This is because my thing, I would say fact, but the thing is, I agree with you 100%. I think it does need to be a TV show, because I remember when they announced it, I thought that's perfect. That's a perfect character for a series. You need, especially with some of his storylines, they are layered. Like you said, you can't fit into a 2.5 hour just one solo film, right? And then as far as a movie, he is a popular character, so you never know. Maybe you could get some clout and it would turn out and it'd be very successful. My worry though is I wonder if they fear about doing a TV show that they'll instantly, let's say it's not Charlie Cox, and obviously on Disney Plus it's not going to have that almost rated R like quality, right? I worry that the second if they do a TV show, they're going to be instantly compared to the Netflix one, and I will hope I'll watch it and be like, I just want to enjoy this. But there are, we know there's some people that will hate it going in, being like, that's not this rated R gritty Daredevil that I know and love. It's, and even then, Daredevil's worked in some kind of fun, like, look at him in the animated series in Spider-Man. He works as a friendly character. He can be darker, but
That
like, it's just like Batman is a PG-13 character who has dark tendencies, but it's just like he doesn't have to be. It's kind of the same way I kind of hate that everyone's kind of turned around and said Deadpool has to be a rated R character. If you read the majority of his comics, they bleep out lots of stuff. They blur things. So it's like he's always been on the line. So I'm not someone that believes, oh, Daredevil has to be rated R. I think there's too many. So that's why I think I'll go fiction, because I think he will debut in a team up or something like that, and I don't think you'll get a show. I think he'll always be a part of a team. I think I'm with you. I want to be back, but I'll play the contrarian. I'll say fiction this time.
Yeah, and I my challenge to people who say Daredevil has to be gritty, they has to be down thing. I think they does have to have a part of that. Read Mark Waid's run. It's post Brubaker, post Bendis. He tackles post-traumatic stress, and I don't want to reveal why at that point, because where Brubaker leaves Daredevil at the end of his run into Shadowlands, that character is broken, and it is a understanding of Matt having to understand who he
his
is
place
at that
and
point.
everything.
And it's a very different take on it, but it makes so much sense if you've been with the character for that long of a time. And so yeah, it's interesting. So if you don't think Daredevil can be a little bit light, a little bit with levity, but still maintaining the darkness, read Mark Waid's run. It'll change your mind on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a lot of people. I'm not trying to throw generalizations, but I think that's a lot of people that just have seen one or two versions and they go, that's it. It's like if all you've read was Frank Miller's Batman, you go, that's it. If all you'd seen was 66 Batman, you go, it has to be. Like, there's so many versions. So, and we've seen it, and I'm somebody I'm actually a fan of the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. It's not,
I am too.
It's not art or anything, but I quite enjoy it. The director's cut's good. I think he can work. It's just, and I'm really ready. Daredevil, I'm kind of like you. It's fun. We have lots of the same similars as far as likes. Daredevil is a top 5 character for me. I love Matt Murdock, his story, everything like that. And I'm somebody that's not a religious person, but I'm fascinated with how they tackle it in some of these story arcs and whatnot. And that's the key, is when you're personally not into something or that's not your way of life, but the material around it gets you invested. That's the great storytelling. And I really just hope we see Daredevil again very soon, because I love the Netflix show. If I had my choice, I would just want a 4th season of that, because I do think they left some things unresolved, but I just want that character in general to be having something going on.
What is it? I think they've got 6 more months before they can put it back in it comes back in MCU proper. They can actually start playing with it.
Yeah, so
not saying they aren't already developing it. That's just crazy. Feige knows that what that show represented, and it knows how good the character is. So whether it be Charlie Cox, which I'd love, or it's someone else, it's a great IP. It was proven great with streaming, but I know you're taking the fiction route. Totally, I can see that side as well, but I think it's like you said, it was one of my. I wanted to save it for last because I knew it'd be a little difficult to answer. So But yeah, so our last thing is our comic book club choice. You want to kind of reveal, say what the choices were and what, because I didn't even get a chance to look at what our choice is going to be, what the fans voted for.
Yeah, let me pull up them. So it was a close race for quite a while, and then kind of one took the lead. But for a while, I was dancing for some. Let's just come on here, load. Okay, so our choices were, this is just in the order: Civil War, Daredevil, The Amazing Spider-Man, Kraven's Last Hunt, Wolverine, Old Man Logan, and Secret Invasion. So for a while, it was a 3-horse race between Secret Invasion, Old Man Logan, and Civil War. And then out of nowhere, Kraven's Hunt started to take a little bit of leap. But then enough people that love Civil War saw it and jumped over. So Civil War is the first one Mark Miller's run, as we're going to be covering. So that's I had a feeling, as I said last week, just because that is a bigger movie. But I had some doubt for a while. Like I said, Old Man Logan had an early lead, and I was kind of surprised because it is just a bit more on the darker side. And I still even bump into some people that I think more people are reading it now because Logan came out. But it was kind of a, I won't say niche, but it was just not the most like big out there as far as like it's Wolverine dealing with age and it's, it's really depressing. It's not like the go-to read for some people, right, if they want to have a fun superhero venture. So but I'm pretty excited about it. I've read before, but I'm excited to talk to you about it in a review portion and talk to you with it, because it was that was when we did our topic last week, MCU storylines. Ever since Avengers 1, you can ask some of my friends, every day I was pitching, like, they got to do Civil War. They got to do it. And then when they announced Civil War was happening, that was, I kind of, until I get Batman The Long Halloween, those are kind of my two. Civil War and Long Halloween were my two. Like, I need to see this on the big screen one day, or like an adaptation version of it. And the movie is very different, but I thought they got the essence of that. But I'm very excited to talk about the actual comic book and talk about the issues. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, it's always been one of my favorites, and the tagline, "Whose side are you on?"
Mm-hmm.
I think it brought up a lot, and still really relevant today, about what it brings up with superhero registration. So again, this can be found on both Marvel Universe and Comixology Unlimited, or you can purchase it. We're not gonna. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the 7-issue run. This had a ton of tie-ins, and I think that if you get hooked onto it, the tie-ins are very actually good. I think that's one of the few I actually have single issues of every single tie-in, because I collected these first run. So that's how amazing it was and what it affected. I mean, the ramification for it. But we're gonna stick to the 7 issues. So we're gonna start next week. We're gonna read issue 1, and we're just kind of give our thoughts, favorite parts, things like that. But yeah, so if you got a week to find it, get it. If you already subscribe to those services, you already have it. But yeah, I'm excited. This will be fun.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm really excited. And like Chris said, yeah, get a chance, read it. It's going to be exactly like a book club. We're going to read it, we're going to talk about it, and then we'll be back the next week. And yeah, because I have not.
And I think it's going to be good just going issue by issue, even though a lot of us have already read it. I think it's just cool, kind of trying to remember where certain beats come about.
Oh yeah, so. And there's, especially with that one, there's a lot of things that are quite momentous that happen in that run. So I'm very excited, because I think the last time I read it was 2016, around, because Civil War the movie. I remember I got to see an early screening. I bought a bunch of comics to the theater because it was still at early screenings. You got to sit in line, so I was in Vancouver sitting there for hours with friends, but I brought my Civil War comics and I read them. So I think 2016 is the last time I've kind of read it start to finish. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. So yeah, next week.
Yeah, and this will be like, once we get through that, we're not gonna bring back the old ones. Well, we may put those back into choices again, but I'll save. I'm not gonna reveal, because I think Travis, you had a really good idea for the next round of possibilities, like a theme around it. So we'll kind of hold off on that. But yeah, the other selection we'll probably sprinkle in again, because I think they are great storylines. But yeah, so Civil War.
Yeah. And as Loki says with those other storylines, the sun will shine on them again one day. Like Chris said, they'll be back in rotation at some point. But yeah, yep. Civil War, I'm very excited. So I guess that's it. That's volume 2 in the books, eh?
Yeah. Good second outing, sophomore outing. We learned from our little bumps in the road.
We're already improving. We're already good.
Yes, already 1% better each day. 1% better. So all right. So well, again, thank you, listeners, for joining us for another episode. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Marvel. I forgot to change it. Marvel A Podcast. Yes. at that point. So last week it was a different one. So Marvel A podcast.
It's staying that one.
And yes. And me personally at Chris Balga. Travis, why don't you tell how they can follow you?
At Travis B. Snell. You can find everything I'm doing on GeekVerse or the feed here. I got a couple guest spots coming up with Chris's show and Katie's show next week, so I'm very excited about that. Like I said, that stream. And then in July at some point, I got a 5-year anniversary to do for GeekVerse, so we're kind of trying to plan that. It's a crazy, as everyone knows, life is crazy in general right now. So I hope everyone out there is doing happy and healthy. I thank you for listening. And yeah, come hit me up and talk anytime you want. If not, then I hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, exactly. You can also email us at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, questions, fact or fiction, give your opinions on certain things that you want to have read on air. Just let us know. And continue to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you're going to be listening to. As always, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. Bye-bye.